preparing young learners for a world that's just constantly shifting, getting more complex every single day. It's a huge challenge, right? What kind of education truly prepares them? Not just with facts, but, with the ability to navigate uncertainty, to contribute positively, to really thrive.
Yeah, it's a fundamental question.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into an educational framework designed precisely for this, the International Baccalaureate Primary Years Program, or PYP. And this isn't just another curriculum list. It's a distinct philosophy of learning, built from the ground up to cultivate what they actually call internationally minded people.
That's right. And the ambition behind all IB programs, the PYP included, is really quite something. It's stated as developing inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect. It's about shaping global citizens, basically, right from the earliest years.
And for this deep dive, our understanding comes straight from the source we thought up, a comprehensive guide, several key documents about the PYP. So it's a really rich, detailed look at the whole framework, the practices. By the end of our conversation, you'll have, I think, a really clear grasp of what makes the PYP so unique, how it fosters truly deep learning, and why its approach feels so relevant today, more than ever, maybe.
Definitely.
So let's start at the very beginning. The foundational why behind the PYP, it seems to boil down to two big things: international mindedness and this concept that really shifts how we think about subjects, transdisciplinarity.
Exactly.
And right at the heart of this why is something the IB calls the learner profile.
The learner profile is absolutely central. It's how the PYP works towards that international mindedness you mentioned. It outlines 10 key attributes, things designed to help individuals become responsible, engaged community members. So beyond being inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring, which we mentioned, it also includes being thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, risk-takers, balanced, and reflective. These aren't just, nice words on a poster. They're about actively encouraging young kids to become compassionate, lifelong learners who genuinely respect different perspectives.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The PYP really sets itself apart here.
Yeah.
Most of us know about multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary approaches, but the PYP uses transdisciplinarity. What's the difference? Why are Niculescu's definitions so important here?
They really clarify the relationships between subjects. So think of multidisciplinarity like a mixed salad.
Okay.
You've got all these great ingredients, different subjects, but they sit next to each other. The boundaries, they stay completely separate. Your lettuce doesn't become the tomato.
Right, got it. And interdisciplinarity.
That's more like a stew. Here, you're actively linking knowledge, methods across different disciplines. The boundaries start to blur a bit. Ingredients mingle, maybe even create something new. Sometimes think about nuclear physics and medicine combining to create chemotherapy. You can still sort of distinguish the original parts, but they've definitely blended.
But the PYP's model is transdisciplinarity. That's the cake analogy you hear sometimes.
Precisely, yeah, the cake. Transdisciplinarity, as Nicholas puts it, transcends all disciplines to unite knowledge for understanding the present world. The disciplines blend so completely, so indistinguishably, they become something entirely new. Like you can't really separate the flour and eggs out of a baked cake. They're fundamentally changed.
And there's this beyond aspect in the definition, too, that seems really crucial.
It absolutely is. The beyond is key.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the learner's unique role in creating knowledge, not just passively receiving it. It recognizes that every child's inquiry is shaped by their own history, their context, their beliefs, their values. This personal lens, it can lead to genuinely new insights, new realities even. That's the real transcendence of learning. It's not just transfer.
So, wow, this isn't just a slightly different way of teaching subjects. It's a fundamental rethink. It directly tackles that initial challenge, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How do you prep a kid for a world that just doesn't fit into neat subject boxes?
Exactly. Because young kids, especially in early and primary years, they don't naturally see their world sliced up into math time and art time.
Yeah.
The PYP embraces transdisciplinarity because it's seen as a transformative program. It genuinely honors their curiosity, their big questions, their voice. It aims to make learning engaging, relevant, challenging, and significant, and importantly, not confined by those artificial subject lines. It connects things.
That really shows how the PYP views learning as, well, as a whole, integrated. Okay, so we've unpacked the why, that core philosophy, but how does this actually look day to day? What are the building blocks, the whats of the program?
Well, the structure comes from 6 globally significant transdisciplinary themes. These frame the entire program of inquiry. They are who we are, where we are in place and time, how we express ourselves, how the world works, how we organize ourselves, and sharing the planet.
Okay, those sound big, universal almost.
They are designed to be relevant pretty much anywhere a child might be learning.
And how do these themes encourage that holistic learning we were talking about?
Well, they naturally bring in the international dimension. They make learning feel authentic, engaging. They help kids build deep, cohesive understanding across subject areas, connecting the dots. And they're developmentally spot on because they tap into those big, enduring questions that young children are already naturally exploring. Who am I? How does this work? How do we live together?
Right, the fundamental stuff. Now, beyond the themes, there's another cornerstone idea in the PYP, one that really changes how we think about knowing things. Conceptual understanding. How does the PYP actually define that?
Okay, so think of it like this. Instead of just stacking new facts on old ones, conceptual understanding is about actively weaving those new ideas into your existing mental framework, making that framework stronger, more flexible. The definition they use is the conscious organization of connections between prior and new knowledge into adaptable networks. It's about building a web of understanding, not just collecting isolated dots of information.
That feels like a huge difference. We're not just talking about memorizing facts then. How does conceptual understanding go beyond that?
Oh, completely beyond. Facts are usually fixed, right? Tied to a specific time or place. Conceptual understandings are different. They're described as changeable, contextual. They're what allow you to take skills and knowledge and actually apply them in new situations, leading to much deeper insights. It's knowing the why and the how, not just the what.
Okay, so how does a concept-driven curriculum help kids build that meaning? And what about those 7 specified concepts I read about? What role do they play?
Right. The concept-driven curriculum is the vehicle. It helps learners build those deeper mental models by constantly connecting new stuff to what they already know and then applying it. Those 7 specified concepts: form, function, causation, change, connection, perspective, and responsibility. They provide a kind of focusing lens, a structure for authentic inquiry that naturally links different subjects and helps build coherent understanding across the whole curriculum.
Can you give us an example? How might one of those concepts work in practice?
Sure, let's take change. In an art class, maybe learners explore how artistic styles or aesthetics have changed over time.
Okay.
Then, maybe in a PE class, they inquire into the skills needed to change from offense to defense in a game, or how their bodies physically change during exercise. See how they're transferring that core understanding of change from one context to another. The concept acts like a bridge, a linking operator across subjects, even across cultures.
That really makes sense. When I was in school, change was like a history topic or a science topic. You never thought about it in PE.
Yeah.
This connects things in a way. Wow, I wish I'd had that. So that's the what. Now let's get into the how of the PYP, the pedagogy. Inquiry skills and multilingualism seem key here. Inquiry is really the main engine, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Inquiry is described as the leading pedagogical approach. It views learners as active, responsible participants, approaching learning with a real spirit of exploration. It's designed to be purposeful, authentic, driven by those big transdisciplinary themes we talked about, but also, really importantly, by the learner's own interests and questions.
And learner agency is central to this. What does that actually mean in a PYP classroom? Why is it so vital?
Learner agency is huge. It's about giving kids voice, choice, and ownership over their learning. It means they genuinely have a say in what they explore, how they go about it, and they take responsibility for their own learning journey. It empowers them. They become drivers, not just passengers.
Okay, and to support this active learning, the PYP highlights 5 sets of skills called Approaches to Learning, or ATL. What are those and what's the goal?
Right, the ATL skills. There are 5 categories: thinking skills, research skills, communication skills, social skills, and self-management skills. The big picture goal here is to help learners, at any age really, become self-regulated learners. People who can effectively think, research, communicate, work with others, and manage themselves proactively. It's about building those skills for lifelong learning.
And how do kids actually develop these skills? Is it taught like a separate subject or?
No, it's woven in. It happens in 2 main ways. Implicitly, just through the classroom culture, how teachers model things, the kind of feedback they give. And then also explicitly, through the inquiry process itself. For example, teachers and students might actually co-construct learning goals for an inquiry that specifically target developing, say, a particular research skill or communication strategy.
Got it. Integrated. Now, another really powerful element seems to be the PYP's commitment to multilingualism. How does valuing different languages connect to cultural identity and international mindedness?
It's fundamental. The PYP explicitly affirms cultural identity and builds that international mindedness by valuing all the languages students bring. It actively encourages making connections between languages. It's not just about learning, say, French or Spanish as a separate thing. It's about recognizing and leveraging a child's entire linguistic repertoire.
And are there cognitive benefits to this beyond the cultural aspect?
Oh, absolutely. Research often shows multilingual learners demonstrate enhanced cognitive flexibility, creativity, and problem-solving skills. The PYP aims for a culture where kids feel proud using their home languages, where they have opportunities to learn additional languages, and where exploring language helps them gain insights into totally different perspectives. It really broadens their worldview.
I've also seen the term translanguaging mentioned. What's that about?
Translanguaging is basically the natural process where learners draw on all their linguistic resources, bits from all the languages they know, to communicate and make sense of things. It further affirms their identity and actually helps learning by letting them use their full linguistic toolkit, not just boxing them into one language at a time.
That really shows how central language is to identity and learning in the PYP. Okay, finally, let's look at how the PYP measures impact, assessment, and reflection. What's the main purpose of assessment here? It feels different from just grades.
It is different. The core purpose of assessment in the PYP is really to inform learning and teaching. It's about gathering and analyzing information. What do students know? What do they understand? What can they do? And then using that information to guide what happens next, to improve the learning.
And they talk about 4 dimensions of assessment. What are they and how do they differ from maybe more traditional approaches?
Right, the 4 dimensions are monitoring, documenting, measuring, and reporting on learning. And what's really key here is the strong emphasis they place on monitoring and documenting learning. These are seen as absolutely critical for providing actionable feedback right back to the learner. Feedback that directly informs and improves their ongoing learning process.
Okay, so less focus on just the final score.
Much less. It's more about the process.
And more on the journey.
Yeah.
So how does this play out? What are the different types of assessment used?
Exactly. They distinguish between 3 main types. First, there's assessment for learning. This is your formative stuff, ongoing checks, observations, quizzes, maybe all designed to inform the teacher's next steps and give students feedback along the way. Then there's assessment as learning. This is where students get actively involved in judging their own work. They learn to self-assess, reflect, set goals, adjust what they're doing, developing those metacognitive skills. And finally, there's assessment of learning. This is the summative part, maybe end-of-unit projects, presentations, tests, that certifies and reports on what has been learned overall.
And this ties right back into learner agency again, doesn't it? Assessment as learning, especially.
Absolutely. The PYP really pushes for learner agency in assessment. Students are encouraged to move beyond just self-assessing to actually self-adjusting. They reflect on their progress, they set goals, they even partner with teachers sometimes to co-construct the learning goals and the success criteria for a task. It makes the whole process transparent and gives them real ownership.
And this whole PYP journey kind of culminates in the PYP exhibition in the final year, right?
Yes, the exhibition. It's a big deal. It's a genuinely learner-led inquiry where students delve deep into a real-world issue or opportunity that matters to them. It's designed to be this powerful demonstration of everything they've developed, their agency, their transdisciplinary thinking, their knowledge, conceptual understandings, all those ATL skills, and the learner profile attributes in action. And studies actually show it has a positive impact on things like international mindedness and critical thinking skills. It's a real capstone experience.
So just to wrap things up, the PYP's focus on these transdisciplinary themes, the deep conceptual understanding, the inquiry-led learning, those crucial ATL skills, and this integrated feedback-rich assessment, it all comes together to create a really holistic, future-focused experience for kids.
Yeah, it's about building adaptable, critical thinkers, kids who are hopefully better equipped for whatever the future throws at them in this complex world.
Understanding this framework, it really helps you appreciate how learning can move beyond just rigid subjects, how it can foster that adaptability, that critical thought, that global perspective we started off talking about.
It's a different way of looking at education, for sure.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If knowledge is truly valuable, not when it's just memorized, but when it's understood deeply and applied to create new insights, maybe even new realities, what opportunities does this kind of approach open up? for learners to not just, exist in the world, but to actively shape it. Something to think about. We encourage you to reflect on how these principles might apply maybe to your own learning or how you engage with complex issues out there in the world. Thanks for diving deep with us today.